Yeah. Question number 8, Deputy Terence Flanagan.
Thanks, Concordia. It's just a straightforward question to the Minister about ending homelessness. And I know in the programme for government it's saying 2016 will be the year that it will be attained. I'm just wondering, is that realistic now, considering the crisis that we have in the housing market?
Minister.
I thank the Deputy for his question. The long-term solution to homelessness is to increase the supply of homes, particularly in terms of social housing. In November 2014, I launched the Government Social Housing Strategy 2020. This is a 6-year strategy intended to deliver over 110,000 social housing tenancies through the provision of 35,000 new social housing units at a cost of 3.8 billion, and since then we've been able to increase that. And by meeting the housing needs of some 75,000 households through housing assistance payment and also through the rental accommodation schemes. I'm committed to addressing the issue of homelessness, Deputy. And as the Deputy will be aware, I hosted a special summit last December involving all the relevant bodies, groups and organisations, which resulted in a comprehensive action plan. A range of measures are being taken to secure a ring-fenced supply of accommodation to house homeless households and mobilise the necessary supports in order to deliver on the Government's target of ending involuntary long-term homelessness by the end of 2016. Deputy, all of the measures are set out in the Government's implementation plan on the State's response to homelessness from May 2014 and in the action plan to address homelessness December 2014. Progress in implementing these plans is reported to the Cabinet Committee on Social Policy and Public Service Reform, which meets on a regular basis. It is an absolute top priority of that committee, Deputy. The plans and progress reports are also available on my department's website. I say this to you, Deputy, on a personal basis, homelessness and the issue of homelessness is an absolute priority for me. It's an absolute priority for myself and Minister Coffey and our department. And we will always be looking at whatever measures are necessary to be able to facilitate local authorities and various different agencies to help to deal with this very important and humane issue. But we do need cooperation, and we need cooperation from many different quarters in order to do that.
Deputy Flanagan.
Yeah. Just to thank the Minister for his response, and I know it's an issue that was raised recently in Leaders' Questions by Deputy O'Queeve, and he raised the issue that's with the Simon community. Like they've said, the crisis has never been as bad, particularly in Dublin in its history. So, I mean, in the programme for government, you're effectively saying you're committed to ending long-term homelessness for families and the need to sleep rough. And I do welcome, I mean, what happened last December. Obviously, it was shocking, the instance of poor Jonathan Corrie, a very tragic case that happened just outside the Dáil. And I suppose that sparked more impetus and focus in dealing on this issue. But till you deal directly with the supply issue and bring more social housing online, you're really going to have extreme difficulty in dealing with this issue. So, regarding rents and soaring rents, Minister, what initiative have you there in order to stop that? Because that's increasing the number of people who are entering the homelessness list as a direct result of that. Are you looking at providing, for instance, tax relief for landlords so that they accept people who are actually receiving rent supplement?
Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy, and I know I respect the sincerity by which you ask this question, and I've always said, and in fairness to deputies across who worked with me on this, I think this issue is a little bit above political to and fro, to be fair. But there are a number of measures. There are many measures being taken and being looked at. And we're constantly looking at other ways in which we can facilitate. We did put out 80 actions. We implemented them before Christmas. It did have a huge impact. We said we'd create more emergency accommodation. We created all that emergency accommodation. In fact, we created more. It's been taken up. We've a protocol with the DSP in relation to rent supplement, whereby many tenancies have been maintained as a result of interventions by Threshold. There's a tenants' rights promotion programme, which the PRTB are tendering for at the moment. The rollout of HAP for homeless people in Dublin is taking place. We've worked with NAMA. We've delivered quicker on voids, and we have much more. But I do want to say that we are looking at other measures. We're looking at issues in relation to rent. They're being concluded or being looked at the moment. But I also want to repeat something to you, Deputy. As a minister responsible, I do need cooperation from many different areas, and particularly I need cooperation from politicians. And a number of the measures I announced have been welcomed and have gone through and have had huge dramatic impacts.
Thank you, Minister.
But I need local authorities in particular.
Sorry, Minister, you're way over time. Deputy Flanagan, thank you.
Again, Minister, as you know, there's 1,000 families and children living in hotels at the moment. Like, that's a major issue and a crisis that needs to be dealt with. And to ask you, I suppose, do you see yourself achieving the target of ending long-term homelessness by 2016? And there are issues there, I suppose, with people who won't accept help as well. And just to ask you, when do the authorities actually step in? Because in my own constituency, there's a young man who has mental health issues, and he's not accepting help from the authorities, from the HSE, for instance, psychiatric people, that type of thing. So, I mean, he's just deteriorating on a gradual basis, and it's heartbreaking actually to see that type of case and type of situation happen to anybody. So, what changes can be made in that area if that's something that can be looked at, Minister?
Thank you, Minister.
Absolutely, it's our ambition to meet our targets in relation to involuntary long-term homelessness. Two issues in the short time I have, Deputy. Firstly, to conclude the point, I need cooperation of local authorities. In some cases, that hasn't been forthcoming. For instance, in Dublin City Council have been tasked now with finding immediate replacements for the fact that the process in relation to refurbishing certain apartments in Devoney Gardens, they've been tasked with finding alternatives to that, which they have to have by next week. This is absolutely necessary. Unfortunately, in this country, we are suffering still a little bit from NIMBYism in relation to this issue, and I was very surprised at that. Having said that, I respect their decision. They're elected representatives. In relation to the second point, and I don't have much time, but you're correct. We have met with all the various different social agents in relation to how to help people who will not accept help. It's quite a difficult thing. They're professional people, but intervention mechanisms have to be judged. And when people will not accept help, that's why we created the bus, we created the night cafe and all of those things, because some people actually won't take emergency accommodation. It's absolutely true. But we have to respect people's civil rights and human rights. But there are times, and that pendulum, by when the HSE, various other agencies intervene, is something that I leave down to professional advice. I listen to people like Alice Leahy of Trust, who is somebody, a benchmark that I always listen to in relation to those issues. In some cases, it's a very delicate operation, but they do their best. Is everything got right? It's a very impossible situation, but they do their best.